Now that we've styled these two sections correctly, let's go ahead and make this part of the site look a little more appealing to the eye. So what I mean by that is if you can look over here at the 1 million line site, you see this change in background from here to this soft gray to this almost salmon color here. And what it does is it gives the site a more organized, sexy, professional look than this bland, all white right here. So how can we do that? Well, let's inspect this element and let's try something out. So let's highlight this div here and give it a background color. So background color, and we'll give it a hexadecimal value of F5, F5, F5. Alright, so as you can tell, we have a problem. The background does not go the full width of the screen. Well, why is this? And the answer is simple. It's because it's within this container div right here. So the container limits the width of this div to 1170 pixels. And it doesn't go to the full edge of the page. Now, if you come up here, you're like, well, we did this background here, which is the full edge of the page. So what do we do differently up here? Well, this div right here with the class of Jumbotron was outside of a container div. So the Jumbotron div actually wraps the container div. So what we're going to do is create a div to wrap our container homepage div. So we're going to do a div here. And we have been using classes, but now we're going to use ID, and I'll explain in the next section the benefits of using ID and the differences between IDs and classes. So we got this div up here, and what we're going to need to do is push this div with a class of container homepage and indent it just to keep our code organized. And thanks to our code already being organized, I see that we've already wrapped the footer and that horizontal rule in that div container. So let's go ahead and cut this right here, and let's move it right down below this div. Beautiful. Now we can move these to the left. We have that. And now we're going to need to take this whole container div here, indent it. That way we can end this div here and our code stays organized. So save that. Come back to the page. Alright. And since we took the footer and put it outside the container div, you can see it goes all the way to the edge of the screen. So now let's look at this div we just created with a class, or I'm sorry, with an ID of getInvolved. You can see it goes the full width of the screen, just like the Jumbotron one does up here. So in these two cases, these divs are wrapping, are the parent element of the container div, so they're outside of it. And they're the child element of the body, which the body is the full width of the screen. So that's why these divs go to the full width of the screen. They're not limited in width at all by any other class or ID. So we have this here, and now let's try this background color. Beautiful. So let's go back over to our code, make that permanent. And I like to do my CSS where, these are HTML elements here at the top, and then I like to do any IDs I have. So here we'll do getInvolved, and you notice this hashtag here, that's the symbol in CSS for an ID, as we've been using the period as a symbol to show a class. So hashtag getInvolved, so it means any element with an ID of getInvolved, and we're going to give it a background color of hexadecimal F5, F5, F5. And I'm just going to change this tab size to 2 so that everything's aligned correctly. So save that. Reload the page, and we still have our background color. Awesome. All right, now I want to give these two sections some spacing here. Clean up the site, give a little differentiation and make it look more organized. So both these sections are going to have about the same spacing. Let's go ahead and work on the class homepage. So we could give it margin top, I will say 30 pixels, margin bottom 30 pixels, but which makes this section look fine with the spacing. However, if we remember correctly, margin goes outside of the border. As you can see down here in the box model, if you ever forget, margin's outside of the border and padding's inside the border. So if we increase margin, this background color, soft gray here, doesn't get any larger. But if we change that margin to padding, you can see that background color increase, and then we'll change this margin. Beautiful. So you see that increase, and actually I need to move both of these, copy that, bring it down here and paste so that you can see it in both, in both divs here. Awesome. So let's go ahead and add padding top and padding bottom. Padding top and padding bottom, the only reason they were crossed out down below is because I had it within the element style on this container. But we'll add padding top and padding bottom to the home page here. Padding bottom, 30 pixels. Padding top, 30 pixels. Beautiful. Awesome. Spacing looks good. And now let's go ahead and finish out the site with the footer down here.